if this is just because I'm an American and the whole Black Lives
Definitely.
Matter movement has really
Probably is, yeah.
has really like replaced the headlines of Corona. Because even though we're
What,
still
sorry?
in a pandemic, to me it just seems the more pressing matter is Black Lives Matter and like improving society so people of color are included.
Mm.
But I don't know if that's just because my news feed and all the stuff my friends post about it is
Oh
so
no, that
freaking.
it's not. Yeah, it's not just because it's not just an American thing. For sure.
No, it's the same. It's the same here. It's getting a bit weird though. It's like I'm all for it within reason, but it's even getting to like in the hospital where I work, you have different colours to represent like whether a ward is positive with corona, whether it's query got people who are positive with corona or just hasn't, and it's colour coded. So a white ward meant that it was clean. There was absolutely no one on it with COVID. But since all this has happened, they've said that we can't call it a white ward. So now it has to be a green ward. And we all chuckled at that because because of everything that's going on. Someone said that to me, like, well, it's because of what everything that's going on. And I just said like, yeah, well, what about it?
Obviously that seems trivial, and I'm sure, not to speak on behalf of black people, but I'm sure if a black person saw that, they wouldn't be like, what, this is racist. I mean, maybe they would.
With black people, I don't think they even batted an eyelid.
No, but like, I think it's more than that, isn't it? It's like there's loads of words like blackmail and like blacklisted, and it's like all these are like negative connotations from hundreds of years ago about black and white, and like white's good, black's bad. So I think they're just like trying to get rid of all that.
Yeah, true. Right.
I was listening to this interesting podcast about unbiased or subconscious biasness, and a researcher did a test where she asked people to match black faces with negative words like rape and murder and danger and not like no safety, stuff like that, and white faces with positive words like happiness, positivity, growth, community. And when they matched it that way, they could do it extremely fast. But when she asked them to switch and match black faces with positive words, their time to use up all the words was much, much slower. And even when herself did it, it was much, much slower. And it shows that over time, we've been conditioned to associate black with bad and white with good. And she used another example of like the way the brain associates words is if you say the word bread, you're never going to think of the word screwdriver, but you'll think of butter. And it's the same way when we talk about black and white. Jack looks so skeptical. It's bullshit.
No, I'm not. Honestly, I'm not. I think that's really good. I was trying to think like, where the fuck is she going with this? But no, I think that's no, yeah. I think when you said bread and screwdriver, but
the screwdriver thing proper screwed me.
Sure.
Screw me.
Exactly, because it's just like it's always going to be from us as the white person's perspective. So I don't think it's hard, as in like it's challenging for us, or I don't know.
I think it is challenging.
Huh?
I think it is challenging.
Well, yeah, I do think it's challenging. Actually.
I mean, I don't mean
it's
like
just, it's just also freaking up. Like someone said to me, like, right, okay, so if you were in a room full of people and a white person walked in, you would look at them for X amount of time or an X amount of way. But if a black person walked in, do you think you'd look at them for longer? I was being told that I would look at them for longer because they're black. And I was just like, but my approach, I've never been in that situation. I've never I probably have. A black person's walked into a store. Maybe I have looked at them for longer. But like, what does that mean? Like, in my head, I was like, well, maybe I'm looking at them longer because they're different to me. Because it's the same way that if a really fat woman walked in, not to like fat shame, but if a really fat lady walked into the store, I probably would look at her like a little longer because I'd be like, oh, bloody look at that. Or if like
more really to look at.
Or if like a really smoking hot girl walked in, like I might look a little bit longer, just because I'm a guy. I like that stuff. And it's the same as like if someone in a wheelchair came in, I won't stare at them, but you're looking at them in a different way because they're different, and being different isn't a bad thing. It's not to that's not to discriminate. It's just to be objective and be like, oh yeah, I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah.
Or am I just being really arrogant saying all those things? Kaity will let me know.
No, Katie's left. She's finished.
Kaity was so mad with what I just said that she had to go and take a breath.
I felt like it was really bright. I'm whitewashing.
But you can't say that anymore.
Right. Damn.
Actually, since we're going to talk about male and female stuff, I actually got someone called me out on using the word female the other day.
Okay.
So,
well, what was the context, Jamie?
The context was I was talking about like kind of like I think we were talking about like dating, but I was using the context of like tribal kind of like mating psychology, i.e. like males and females. What are you so shocked about?
What? Tribal mating psychology?
Sorry, yeah, I just threw a load of words together there. Like, as in, you know, like primal instincts, that sort of thing.
All right, okay.
So I was thinking, we were talking about like why like a man would think of a woman in a certain way or whatever. It's because they're like conditioned from like thousands of years ago type of thing. That was the topic of conversation. So it was about like mating. And then the person I was talking to said, you shouldn't use the word like female. It's actually quite offensive. And I was like, oh.
What?
Kate, what are your thoughts?
You're not allowed to use the word female?
Well, like if I described you as a female, would you get offended?
No, but maybe that's because I am like a straight white woman that like conforms to most gender norms.
Yeah. No, it was just interesting. Like this person then sent me an article, and it was more like, you know, because you don't want to like just see women as kind of like just people that you would like, you know, that a man would mate with, or like, you know, they're only there for to have children and things like that.
Did she offer, or did they offer an alternative word to use besides female?
Ooh, good point.
No, I guess not. But I was just like, woman, girl. Maybe they did. I can't remember.
Well, you should have remembered, bro. That's very arrogant of you not to recognise their.
No, it was a good friend of mine that said it. So I was like, you know, I took it on board. I read the blog post, and it was like, oh, okay, fair enough. I think what made me think of it was that like this whole Black Lives Matter thing, it made me think that maybe you should ask these questions. You know, like, can I say that? Do you get offended if I say that? Sort of thing. But anyway, I'm glad that you didn't think that I was being offensive by using the word female.
No.
It's okay to offend someone if you're not doing it on purpose. If you by accident offend someone and then they let you know that you offended them, and then you find out why and apologize for it and try and come back, like learn from it, then so what? Like, you can't. It's like all of a sudden there's this like bubble where, in no circumstance, I don't want to ever experience feel like victimized or being called something I don't want to be called. Like, that's gonna happen, but just like fucking chip her up, let people know how to be nice to you and to other people, and crack on.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the main issues, is that people are scared to ask like what the right terms are, or like, you know, so people just don't like bloody speak to each other.
I don't actually like. Oh god, I need to be careful with my words. But no tomorrow.
No, you don't.
We'll just cut it out.
Like, what?
I said he'll just cut it out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I just don't really care that much until if someone wants to be called a she, a him, a dragon, whatever, I'm not that bothered unless I meet them. Like, once I come into contact with someone and I learn about them, and I want to be nice to everyone, I truly believe in treat others how you want to be treated, even if when they're not nice to you. But until I come into contact or into those situations and learn from it, like then in the moment, like I just don't really care that much. I'm not going around thinking like, I do care about, I want people to be happy and people to be comfortable and be able to express themselves however they want. But I'm not walking around thinking like, oh, there's all these different names for people. Like, do I need to know them? I'm just like, nah, I'm all right. And when the time comes, I'll be like, all right, you want to be a butterfly? That's fine.
But it's only until you meet that butterfly that you need to know about it.
No, so good point. Like I need to know about it because in terms of knowing that there's a lot of different things out there now that people can be associated as or not as. So when I approach people, and goodness knows what situation, like making sure I'm not coming across like bold and I don't know, assuming a girl is straight or what different things. So I need to know about it, but I don't think I need to go out and like openly educate myself right now. No.
What about like the Black Lives Matter stuff? Do you feel like you need to educate yourself on that sort of stuff right now or not?
At first, I didn't, and then I have a few friends who are black, and I was getting really annoyed because there was loads of people posting information on social media, and I thought it was. I wasn't annoyed at them. I was annoyed at how it was happening. It was really good. It was friends of mine who are white posting about like all these Black Lives Matter and trying to educate things, but I was getting frustrated because it was just loads of white people telling me about black history and stuff and black culture. So I have a black friend who I contacted. I actually went round to her house actually, and spoke with her about it. And I just said like, well, what do you? You're one of my few black friends. Like, what would you want me to do in this situation? Like, loads of people going on protest. Do you feel like I don't feel like I need to go on a protest. Would you expect that of me? Those people are now watching like documentaries or reading books. Like, yeah. I said to her, I was like, if I'm honest, I kind of don't really want to watch the documentaries. I just want to watch like news or something. But do you want me to what do you want me to do? And she just gave me like, she said she named a couple books. This was, I think it'd be good if you like read these to get an idea of black culture. 2 books that I haven't even started reading because I was meant to get them off her and I haven't yet, but I will. And the rest of it, she was like, no. She was like, and another black person would say total opposite. They're not all the same in one exact movement. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was one of the biggest issues, in that there was just so much information, as with the world now, I guess, and social media. Was that like, yeah, there was so much information. You just like even the people who want to educate themselves, are like, where do I go for this education?
Yeah.
Don't know. All right. How did you guys meet? Let's start with that.
Well,
we don't have to.
I listened to the episode you guys did when you talked about dating relationships. Jack said we met on Bumble, but that's not what I remember. I remember Tinder.
Same thing.
Trashier.
Oh, was it? Hey, I didn't even know you were going to come out with that question. Not that there's any awkward vibes, but that was just. Did you know that?
That he was going to ask that?
Jamie.
Did I know what?
How we met?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I didn't know what you'd wanted to say, answer how you'd wanted to answer, but.
Oh, so you purposely just threw that out there. So
yeah,
just going from Black Lives Movement and everything to all of a sudden that. Okay, great. Well, I think we met on Bumble, but Katie says Tinder.
I think it's a wonderful story.
Yeah, I thought it would be a nice story.
It was pretty cool. I'm usually the speaker, so Katie, you speak. You can say.
Okay, we matched on Tinder, and he was working at a summer camp, which was like an hour and a half from my house. And we met up at a halfway point at this like little park with a waterfall, and we were there for like 6 hours chatting. And it was like a really nice first date. But then like I think we were both in really weird times in our lives, and Jack was like freshly out of a relationship of like this woman he super loved, and I was out of a relationship with someone, and we were just living like, an hour and a half away, didn't have a car. He wanted to go back to England. I was trying to move to Norway, and I just forced my friendship on him anyway. And we're still friends.
What made you want to move to Norway?
the quick version of that long story is when I was in high school, I played a lot of video games and I played Call of Duty on the computer, and I was in a clan and I met two twin brothers from Norway and we became really good friends. So when I was 17, one of them came to New York and I met him. And then when I was 20, I was doing an internship in China. And on the way home, I stopped in Norway and stayed with their family for like 10 days. And when I got off the plane in Trondheim, I just decided I want to live here one day. So I made it my goal. And then I studied abroad in Sweden for a semester. I worked on a dairy farm for their nephew for the following summer. And then after I graduated, like I was kind of fucking around Vermont for a little while, but I quit my job because I just knew I need to pursue getting to Norway, because if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And here I am, au pairing, working.
That is a cool story. Like someone that you met on Call of Duty, you went and stayed with in Norway. Then...
Yeah, so we joke like Call of Duty.
I did not know that.
Bringing the world together.
I did not know you did that. Or maybe you told me. I thought I was listening.
You probably forgot.
Yeah, okay.
Are you still in touch with the guys that you met on Call of Duty?
Mm-hmm. Last summer, I went to Trondheim and celebrated their sister's birthday. Like the whole family got together. So we've been friends now for 12 years. We're like, wow, remember when we were just babies?
That's so sick.
That's a great story. So I guess me and Jack did a podcast, it feels like so long ago now, man, about like male masculinity, which I think we like fell down in like a huge rabbit hole on, in terms of just like the bloody complexities of it all, and like I think it blew Jack's mind. But it'd be interesting. We did say on the podcast that we needed the I was going to say female perspective, the woman's perspective, of kind of what we were talking about, but just of male masculinity in general. So I guess like huge hot potato to you, Kaity. What do you perceive as like personally as a masculine man?
I just want to preface this by saying I was chatting with one of my friends yesterday, saying I was going to do this podcast. Like, let's chat a little bit about it and see where it goes. Mm-hmm. And we both found it was extremely difficult to talk about masculinity and femininity without talking about sexuality.
Yeah.
I believe it's so extremely complex, because masculinity and femininity is, for the most part, many years ago, society deciding what is masculine and what is not, and assigning that to the genders. Because beyond some predisposed biological things, like as a woman, I am meant to have children. I do bleed once a month. Like my anatomy changes the way my brain is structured. So I think differently and I like rely on emotions, and I get that. And as men, you're not driven to find a lifelong mate. You're driven to procreate and find food. And so I understand we're hardwired differently, but the things that we say make things men, or the traits that we say make women, I feel are just given to us by society. So when I say like, oh, generically, when I see a big, strong man with like short hair, wide shoulders, carrying a stone up a mountain, I'm like, ooh, manly. But I understand that objectively that's manly, but I don't necessarily believe that that's what makes a man a man.
And I guess, do you sometimes, because I guess there's like a trade-off between what you think is objectively put upon you by society, or what you genuinely like think in your mind. Like, is there like a conflict there in terms of, because like you say, like we are designed to mate in general, or yeah. So is there like a, go on.
There's a huge conflict, because I want to be unbiased. I personally, like, I think masculinity and femininity is fluid. It's like a scale, kind of like sexuality. And personally, I feel like I have a very masculine energy, or at least what is traditionally assigned by society. Like I'm loud and I'm abrasive and I'm direct and I'm very interested in outdoor sports. Like I'm not into girly things. Yet I'm still attracted to very traditionally manly men. So while I want to say it's very clear to me as someone who aligns more with masculine energy that like you can't assign masculine traits only to men and vice versa. Objectively, I do assign those traits to men and women because I can say like, oh, he's very masculine, she's very feminine. So it's I think it's very hard.
Yeah, I think it's so hard because I think almost like, so especially with the whole kind of like dating game, like sometimes that just feels conflicting as to like you should, obviously everyone should be their true selves, be themselves and all that, but then sometimes there's times where you like your friends will say like I've literally just got a message off one of my friends saying like a girl that says like, oh, she was giving me the advice of like give some masculine energy, take the lead in something, and I'm just like, oh, like just like there's again, it's that like conflict of like, do you play the game or do you just like, not that I'm like a hugely feminine male, I don't know, maybe I am. What are your thoughts, Jack? You're very quiet. Hot potato.
So much running through my head. I just like a total mix. Like for me, I agree with what Kaity said regarding you do grow up thinking like, yeah, men, I don't know, cut down trees and drink beer, and girls paint the nails and cook. Like that's almost like what you're not brought up to think, but it's even like how growing up there's like jokes, isn't there? Like women should be in the kitchen and stuff, and vice
Music
versa.
and
Like
movies and everything you
yeah,
see.
yeah, absolutely. Men should be like playing with cars and stuff. Like I like in terms of what I just naturally look for in like a woman, especially coming from like getting into CrossFit and stuff. I want a total mix. Like I like the first thing I look for is someone who's like active and into the outdoors and doesn't need to be like covered in makeup and things. But that's just my personal preference. I love a girl with like muscles and a bit of a back, like a CrossFitter. Don't mean I want like a bodybuilder, but so my point I'm trying to get across is like I want a girl who like carries rocks up mountains and freaking does like workouts and is really strong, but then can get dressed up and wear a dress and look girly, and I can like feel like a man by spoiling her or taking her out for dinner or I don't know, being what masculinity is to me. So I don't see why you can't have both. Like and
You
just
can.
like kind of yeah, you can have both, yeah, totally, and you can
That's
switch
why I'm
roles
saying I
like
think
in a
it's so
relationship.
fluid, just
You're
like
saying it,
sexuality. Like
you're saying,
you can't only be one thing because everybody is really on a scale. So some days the way I dress, like you could a lot of people would say or could think that I'm a lesbian, right? Because I like wear baggy pants and oversized shirts. But then other days I could wear high heels and put on makeup and wear a dress. It's like the energy that I'm feeling on the day. So it's like a scale. And I think it's the same
yeah,
with sexuality. Some people, I don't want to like have a conversation about sex, but I think they're very connected. Like someday you could feel very dominant and other days you feel very submissive. Not in a BDSM type of way, but just in your like sexual expression. So I think it just changes. But what I think a lot about is if a man, because I think females are changing in the sense that traditionally we were supposed to be thin or small and kind of like frail, and the man was supposed to take care of us and be the strong one. But there's been a movement about women being strong. Specifically, I think that was kind of led by CrossFit. And for me, I think it's amazing because I can relate a lot with those women. But a lot of men say, I don't like those body types. They're too manly. like I think they're intimidating. So then I think,
Yeah,
are you insecure with what it means to be a man? Like, do you feel less like a man because your potential girlfriend has a wider shoulders than you? And I think that's when you really start to think about like masculinity and femininity. The men that hold on very tightly to traditional ideas of what it means to be manly, to me, is very unattractive.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess it's interesting. Like, Jack, I would agree that like I find, I guess a few years ago I probably wouldn't have said this, but now, yeah, because probably because of CrossFit, I do find like more muscly girls attractive. And I guess that's something that shows, that's clearly from that's like nurture, not nature. Do you know what I mean? That's not like innate. So
But what made you mentally shift?
I think it's exposure. I think what makes you shift is exposure. Like all of a sudden, when you're young, this isn't necessarily me, but when you're young, you're not used to seeing pictures of women that are muscly, or when we say muscly, I don't mean like bodybuilders. I mean just women that are in good shape or whatever. You're not used to seeing that. So maybe you're a bit foreign to it. I don't know. I never felt like I was. And then all of a sudden, when you're in the environment of, say, a CrossFit gym or exercise and fitness more regularly, and you start to see women that the first thing I see isn't a woman who's got a really ripped back or a ripped back for a woman. It's more that I'm seeing a woman who is doing like some freaking badass workouts, is like using the body as a tool, and that's what I find really attractive. Like the actual aesthetics is secondary to the function of what they're doing. So I think it's like exposure to those type of people. Like it's the same as like almost when I went through a stage when I was in secondary school, when I was a bit like, we called each other like we didn't call each other, other people called us like Spice Boys, when all you wear is like designer clothes and like you freaking, I don't know, you're just like a Spice Boy. And you'd have those people that you'd also like say, oh, they're like hippies. And you'd like, I remember being in school and being like, there's like hippie girls that I wouldn't be attracted to because I'm young and I'm not exposed to certain groups of people. But when I've like actually gone and traveled, or I've met girls that back then I would have considered hippie, but what the freaking hell is hippie anyway? It's just a stigma. When you actually meet them, it's like, yeah, girls that are outdoorsy. This is for me, might not be true. Girls who are outdoorsy, girls who necessarily don't need to like put on makeup, or like you say, you wear clothes and stuff. And when you're exposed to that, you get to know the person rather than the stereotype of different groups. And it's that exposure that makes you then recognize them differently, or get attracted to them, or I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Maybe as we grow up, we just mature and realize that outward appearance is not everything. Maybe that's a part of it too. Like, I remember in 8th grade, girls would stand up and see if their thighs touched. And they would be like, if your thighs don't touch, it means you're like thin and beautiful. And my thighs would always touch. And I'd be like, well, guess that counts me out.
Yeah.
Kaity, you said about kind of that sliding scale of like femininity, and how you could put on some heels or whatever, or you could wear baggy pants, or like, is that like, do you feel like the pressures from society to be a certain way in that sense, or do you now feel that again, is that just the case of like maturity, and that you can now just sort of like be who you feel like you want to be on that day or whatever?
I think it was the way, not that I was raised, but just my childhood. I was always a tomboy, and I think part of that was I was very uncomfortable in my body because I've had body image issues since I was very, very young, and I never felt small enough. But my dad would like sexually objectify women all the time. He would always comment on their appearance, and I think watching him and other men sexualize women made me not want to give men, dress in a way or act in a way that would give men or have men want to objectify my body. So as like a sense of self-protection and also rebellion, I didn't want to be very traditional. I wanted to be strong instead. And I think my dad is very traditional in the way he sees men and women. I remember one time I was doing a farmer's carry with 50-pound weights in each hand, and my dad said, "Do you really need to keep doing that? Your shoulders are already big enough." And instead, like, it just gave me so much drive to be like, "Fuck you. I will just get bigger just because you said that, to show you that like a woman doesn't need to be anyway, and just because you don't think it's attractive doesn't mean I don't think it's attractive." And then, like we've been mentioning, when CrossFit came out and there was a spoken word of a woman, she was describing like the relationship to the barbell, and I listened to that, and it spoke to me so well, like, fuck yes, women. And maybe it was because I knew my body would never look like the girls that have that hourglass figure, and I just listened to it and thought, I don't have to look that way to be beautiful. I can do my own thing. And it's definitely been a journey. I think everybody has some type of body issue. And I think as you grow older, it's just something you work towards. But where I am today now, I'm just very comfortable with who I am. And yeah, I like myself as a person. And even though I think I have to grow, like, I know I feel comfortable wearing baggy t-shirts and boy shorts if I want to, just because it's a reflection of who I am. And if someone judges me as being masculine, that doesn't bother me, because I just think that shows insecurity on their own part. Like, people often project their insecurities on other people. So it's not my issue if they judge me incorrectly. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I remember what the question was. I'm just so enthralled.
Yeah, it's just good to listen to, isn't it? Yeah, but definitely. Vice versa, in terms of like, we're talking about to be a woman and what it's like. Like, I can only talk from my perspective what it's like to be a guy. I don't have much to say on that, I don't think. But when I think of like the switch side of guys who are like, I don't know, maybe the gay or just more feminine sorts, if I can say that, in terms of like maybe what they wear. For example, like, I've been in situations where I've gone out and see mates in London, and there'll be like a gay guy who just is dressed in stuff that I haven't seen like a guy wear before, if I'm honest. Like, almost like girls, I don't know what tops are, but like a girl kind of styled top, a top that I'm used to seeing a girl wear.
Yeah.
So
Like,
my
wow.
initial thing is to look and be a bit like, that person's like, they're like peacocking a little bit, they're standing out to me, so I'm going to look at them. But then I'm like instantly comfortable with it, so long as they are. Like, when someone's comfortable in their own skin, regardless of, for me, in my experiences, when someone's comfortable in their own skin and you're around that person, whether they're straight, gay, trans, whatever they are, like, I don't bat an eyelid. It's like, because you just feel that energy and you feel that comfort, and then you're comfortable as well. So, and it's that exposure again, I guess. But it's when people aren't comfortable, and you can kind of like, sometimes you can get vibes of like they're trying too hard to express themselves, or I don't know. That's when it kind of gets a bit. I don't view them as any less, or it's just I'm a bit uncomfortable with it. For example, like, go on.
I was just gonna say, I do think, if you want to finish though, you should finish.
No, I'm good.
I was just gonna say, I think that we are working towards a society where the line between masculine and feminine is becoming more and more blurred. Because I think about 10 years ago when we were in high school, everyone would always say, like, that's so homo, that's so gay. I don't know if that was a trend in the UK, but it was a trend in the
Oh yeah,
US. And,
yeah.
you know, and like, I don't think kids do that anymore. And Americans would always call European men metrosexual, because you guys would like wear tighter pants and form-fitting clothes, and you would like take the time to get a $50 haircut, or maybe like go and manicure your nails, which to me, I think about like, wow, American men were so insecure. I mean, think about like nudity in Europe. Americans think that Europeans are naked much more often around each other than they are in the US. And it's, you know, when you go to school, at least here, after gym class, you have to shower naked together. And especially in Southern Europe, there's so many naked beaches. But I think American men are so afraid, or at least they were, I hope it's changing, of someone thinking that they could be womanly or potentially gay. Like anything that would conflict with this traditional identity of being a man was so scary to them. And the only way they knew how to combat it was like, that's bad, that's evil, that's disgusting. But if you're a man and you wear a skirt, it doesn't make you less manly. Like that doesn't mean anything. It just means you're expressing yourself in the way you want to express yourself. Like wear a rainbow shirt. That's wonderful. You know?
I think would it be just to be devils, like I do agree, but would, in terms of it being less manly, would it be just because one man wearing a skirt in a ratio of men who don't wear skirts, that there's a lot more men who don't wear skirts than there are men who do. So is that not the term, like it being manly because more men are not doing it?
It's a stereotype, right? Like,
yeah.
It's just like
no, I don't think it's stereotyping. I don't think that's stereotyping. That's just recognizing that a lot of men of our gender as a man, male. There's if a lot of, it doesn't say it's right. I'm just creating an argument. Like if a lot of us are wearing jeans, but then there's one in 10 that's wearing a skirt, then would it be that? Is it to say it's manly? It's not manly to wear a skirt because the vast majority aren't doing it. Does that make sense?
But is it manly to wear pants? Does that make you a man? Or
Not
is
necessarily. It doesn't have to be on the switch. It could be on the switch side, but it doesn't have to be either.
But why do most men wear pants? Because hundreds of years ago, they decided men should wear pants and women should wear skirts. And it's been so ingrained in you that you can't wear a skirt because that's a woman thing. But why don't you wear a skirt then?
I hear what you're saying. But for some people, it might be ingrained in them that you can't do that. But like, I recognise, from my perspective, I recognise that if I wanted to go outside and wear a skirt, I could. I don't want to, but I could. But if I was to see a field of the average man, if I was to, not the average man, if I was to go into a crowd of men and pick 10 at random, and if there was 1 in 10 that was wearing a skirt, there might be more than that, but I doubt it, then yeah, I would be recognising that these are all men, but one of them is wearing a skirt, which I recognise. I don't stereotype, but I recognise women tend to wear skirts more than men. So I'm going to say that man is not less manly. It doesn't make him any less of a man. Being a man and being manly, I think, are two different things. It doesn't make him less manly, but he's not with the vast majority of men that are wearing pants. So I feel like he is less manly almost. Well, but not in the context of wanting to be a man, just in terms of recognising it objectively. Is that, no?
Jamie, when you walk around Scotland and you see men in kilts,
that's different.
What's your, but is it different?
Yes, because it's a kilt. Because
it has been made socially acceptable and manly for that particular type of skirt to be worn by men, right?
Yes, but I think with kilts that's very different because I don't know about you, but I can't help but still look at a man wearing a kilt and thinking, still looks a bit like a skirt, that mate. Like, you know?
I just think, oh, wow, great legs. That's what I think.
For some of us are working on them, but yeah, so I don't think it has to be like, I totally get where you're coming from, and I don't disagree. But do you get where I'm coming from in that? I don't think it's always bad. Stereotype has always got like a bad connotation, like, oh, you're stereotyping. And a lot of times it is. It's unfair, and it doesn't allow people to be themselves sometimes and express whatever. It confines people into like a social norm. But also sometimes stereotype is almost just it can, for me, I think it's just like, you're just being objective with a lot of guys. Not all guys, but a lot of guys wear pants. Like, I've got my friends who are gay, they're men. They're not less manly, but they don't wear skirts. So, I don't know. But
I think like saying like not less manly. I think it's fine to say if someone's less or more masculine potentially. I think like that's the thing with something that we kind of discussed on the podcast previously. With it's almost like as a man, you're scared to be less masculine almost, and you say like there's not like we talked about how we would be like oh I'm not gay, and it wouldn't be from a oh god I'm not one of them horrible aliens. It's not that. It's more that like oh I'm not gay because I am straight, therefore I am like ready to mate or whatever, if you want to think of it like in like a tribal way. Does that make sense?
No.
Does that not make sense? Stop sucking your thumb, Jack. I think what I'm trying to say is I think what I just kind of discovered from the podcast that we did before was that sometimes I'm in a situation. Oh, have I lost you?
No.
Oh, sorry, my screen just went off. Sometimes I'm in a situation where I for example, like working in hospitality, you often like there's a lot of stereotypically there's a lot of women and gay men working in hospitality. So sometimes there's the point where you go like, oh, you kind of feel like you want to portray that you're not female, a woman, or a homosexual male. And I realized that like there's not necessarily like guilt in wanting to portray that, because that's just me wanting to portray who I am. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you know, like I think there's.
Well, if someone thought you were gay, does that threaten your identity? Is that why you feel strongly to make sure people understand?
No, a few people used to think I was gay, and I just thought it was funny. Because I was like, oh, really? All right. So that's why I started working out.
Really?
No, of course it isn't. I'm joking. No, it's not. Not at all.
No,
we talk about
definitely when I was younger, I would have been like offended if someone thought I was gay, which I think is just like the wrong mindset to have. But I think now I'm older.
I think it's the wrong mindset. I don't think it has to be wrong though. Like it's okay for someone who is straight, if they are, it's okay for them to be offended a little bit. Like, because if they were to be offended, like, oh my God, I can't believe you just compared me to someone who's gay, like, then that's right. Yeah, you're out of line. But if they were like, they could still be offended and just be like, oh, like, no. Because they might be offended because they've been actually giving off the wrong vibe and wasting an opportunity to meet some lovely ladies. That'd be heartbreaking.
It's okay for them to be offended, but it's important for them to ask themselves, why do I have this reaction when someone thinks I'm gay? Because if you are comfortable in your sexuality, it shouldn't matter. Like, well, that's funny, but like that shouldn't make you change your behavior. Like, oh, I don't have a girlfriend. Is it because people think I'm gay? Maybe I should try to act differently to get a girlfriend. Like, you should act the way you naturally want to be so you can eventually attract someone who finds that to be attractive,
Yeah. But what if that person does change the way they are a little bit?
If they want to, that's fine.
And they do get the girlfriend. And they do get the girlfriend. And then they're happy with it.
It's just important to recognize it. Like.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I found out from my sister that because her boyfriend is friends with someone I went to high school with, and they went on like a double date, and he was like, oh, you're Katie's sister. Yeah, I see all the stuff she does. It's really cool. We all used to think she was a lesbian in high school. My sister told me that, and I was like, I understand why. I had a very masculine energy, but.
And does it bother you?
No, it doesn't. Because I know I'm not a lesbian, and the guys I've been with know I'm not a lesbian. So.
I think we're very lucky because we get to all, as far as I'm aware, we all, like you say, we're comfortable in ourselves, and we've had the opportunity to go out and explore and learn how to be that way. A lot of people, I assume, I don't fully know, a lot of people are in these situations where they do get offended and they do get, or they do really struggle with it. They haven't had the opportunities that we've had to be exposed to different people and have these kind of conversations. And so it's not just a lack of education, it's a lack of experience as well. So that's where I think it gets a bit skew with, because we expect, or a lot, from social media, which isn't the best outlet, but a lot of people seem to expect other people to just accept like gender changes and all this stuff going on. And I don't think it's that people don't accept it, they're not against it, they just don't know it, and it's just new to them, and they're just not sure. And yes, a boy might have been brought up to be recognize a man as someone who does this and a woman who does that. Like, it's not a bad thing, but I think it gets, it's good, everything that's going on. It's good that we're talking about this now, but I feel sorry for some people, because they almost get victimized for not accepting something straight away just because it's new to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think it's difficult. I mean, even with the, you know, obviously like the Black Lives Matter movement at the minute, it's like I kind of, the people I think of are like, you know, everyone's got like grandparents who are, you know, who'll say a certain thing, or, and you know, you might have gone like, well, that's racist in your head, but you kind of go, oh, well, but they're from like a different generation, you know, I mean, they don't understand. Or likewise, you might have like a mate who just, I don't know, someone who hasn't seen the world, who's just lived in the same village all their life, or like, and so they inherently have totally different views.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think I agree. I almost have sympathy for those people, to a certain extent, in that they just don't know any better. You know, like even in England or even in the US, there's places where, I don't know, maybe not the US, but there's places where there wouldn't be any black people. You know, there's places where you could live your whole life and you wouldn't see a black person.
Yeah.
Or even a gay person, or
yeah.
Like I remember like so many, obviously there's loads of Irish in Sydney, and so many of my Irish friends in Australia were just like, we've never really like seen so many gay people, and they were saying it in a positive way, but they were just like being really honest in the fact that like where they have grown up, like they've literally never met a gay person.
The first time I was in company of people who were gay and they were like being intimate, I was totally uncomfortable with it at first, because I just hadn't been in that situation before. It's not because I was a homophobe or anything. Two guys kissing, and I was just like, I probably went as bright red as this bloody bottle, and I was just like, yeah, but it's not like, it's just like exposure again. And after a while, I was like, oh, they look like they're enjoying it. Fine. I don't know. Just like, I think it gets. You're right. Everything we're talking about gets complex, but it's also, for me at least, it's really simple at the same time. But everything that we've been talking about, like stereotypes and things, there's this thing that we talk about, like society. What's society's social norms and things, like. Just because that's out there doesn't mean it has an influence on us to an extent. If you're going, regarding society, if you're going into a school that's got lots of different people from lots of different families, like there tends to be a societal norm or whatever. But for me, at least, I'm sure it's similar for you guys. Like, my bubble at home is what influenced me most. So yes, there was this women are meant to. There was women being feminists and feminine, sorry, and males being manly. But I was brought up by like a very strong mother who, yes, she would do the cleaning and cook us dinners, but then she'd like smack my ass like when I was being a bad lad, and she was very like independent and strong, and so I've never thought of women as lesser or weaker or anything. I mean, in terms of strength, like physically, I'm not going to be as strong like science, but actual like the influence that they have on me. So we talk about all these different things, but it's what goes on in your house and what you're surrounded by that's the true effect. So women, I think I've always thought women can be either or, vice versa with guys, really.
I think people are allowed to be uncomfortable with something when they first see it, like you said. The first time you saw men kissing, that made you uncomfortable. And that's okay. Like, everybody cannot be exposed to everything growing up. Things are going to be new and uncomfortable. But what bothers me is people who refuse to try and learn from the other side, that are so deeply set in their ways
Yeah.
and so ignorant to trying to understand another perspective. And that's why I think it's important
Flat.
for self-reflection. Like, be offended, be uncomfortable, but ask yourself, why am I uncomfortable? Is it because I feel insecure? Then that should be a sign that you need to expose yourself or educate yourself to some other perspective.
Yeah, because I think you've got to think back to, like, you know, kind of these like tribalism, in the fact that that's essentially probably where racism comes from, in the fact that, you know, thousands of years ago on the plains of Africa, you know, like, another tribe is like a threat, is a threat to you. Now, obviously, in today's like society, that's, you know, like not the case. You'd hope. But yeah, you've got to be like empathetic towards yourself, in the fact that you go like, okay, like, maybe some part of me saw this like different person who I've never met before as like some sort of threat, but then yeah, as long as you take that time to go, well, hang on, like, why did I think that, and like, is that right or wrong, then you can push on and move forward with it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think there is inequality in society between men and women. And I feel it's directly related to the way society decided to box men and women. It made women, and I understand that, like, women are paid less per dollar. It's not simple as they're just paid less because they're women, but over time, because they're home with the children, they choose to like not take on promotional opportunities, and it's a very complicated thing. But traditional gender roles has influenced the growth of men and women in society. So I think it's very important that people have these conversations of what it means to be a man, and manly or womanly, because as we go into the future, I think younger generations, not the older ones, younger generations truly believe in a more equal world, equality between everybody. And then it's important to understand that, yes, you can feel traditionally masculine. Like, I remember you saying, Jack, in the podcast, what makes you feel manly is being strong and muscular and like being able to take care of a woman. That's okay if you feel that way. But also accepting if a woman wants to be strong and be the breadwinner and like not have children and focus on her career, that doesn't make her less womanly. I think it's just about assigning equality to both types of characteristics of people.
Yeah, and I think that's often where the stereotypes can be detrimental to, like you say, you could if a woman's paid less than a man because she might have children, for example, then, you know, she might not be in a position to have children, she might not want children, she might just want the career. It's not up to the employer to decide that, I guess.
I love it when the girl gets the bill. I find it so hot.
Well, yeah, did we talk about that
Honestly.
in the last podcast? I think we did.
I think so. Yeah. I find it so attractive. And I love being told as well. I love, like, when, like, I'm just going off on one ear, but I like when I get told I'm going to do something, or like today, this is the plan, today we're going to go do this, and I'm just like, okay, sweet. Just like that.
I think.
So I like being driven. I like to drive, but that's just personal.
Like, the US is much more traditional in gender roles. Like, when you go on a date, it's, even though feminists can say we want equality, we want things to be equal, in the US in general, when you go on a date, it's like, oh, it's expected that the man offers to pay. And I've always thought that was
the same thing
in England, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
England, I always, living here, when I go to the UK, it's kind of like a stepping stone to America. You guys are like half American. Like, your humor, their culture, so many things are similar, but you're still a little bit European.
Whoa. No. I mean,
but I think
our humor is so much better. So much better. Humor, British people are great better.
It's arguable, but okay. The point is that Scandinavia is known to be one of the most equal places in the world. And here, when you go on a date, it's not expected as strongly that the man pays. No, traditionally, you split the bill, you know? And like
Yeah.
holding
That's
it, like,
becoming more of a thing over here as well.
it is.
Yeah, definitely. Like, not that I'm dating all the time, but from my experience, yeah, it is becoming more of a thing, and it's really nice as well. Like, and it doesn't. It used to. I think a few years ago, it used to be if I would go on a date with a girl, went out for dinner or something, it's like my worst nightmare of a day. But if I was to, I just don't want someone to see me eating. I think that's really unattractive for a first date because I'm not a good eater. I'm eating for survival. I'm getting it in there. Yeah, it used to be that if a girl would have paid, offered to pay, or she would, I think part of me would have felt like, oh shit, like I should have done that. I should have paid. But now, because I've maybe got more mature, I feel like, yeah, it's nice. It's really nice when the girl pays, or when you just split it. Like, why not? Like, you know. So
Yeah.
things are changing, at least in my bubble, and maybe your bubbles as well. And that's a really good thing for me from a personal experience, and hopefully just the whole bubble changes for the better as well. But I think we've got to be realistic in that whilst we're talking about all these things, there will always be, I believe, I think there'll always be those people who are just arrogant and don't want to, and they stick within the societal norms of now, and I just hope it becomes less. Like racism, for example, I think we'll always have racism. Like, I don't think, maybe that's an uneducated assumption, but I think it goes back to like when you're in school and when you're a kid, like when you're literally in like kindergarten or reception. If you get backed into a corner, or if you're a kid who's just, a kid says something to you that you don't like, your instinctive reaction to call them out is to call them out on something personal about them. Like when you're a kid, you'll call the other kid fat, or you'll call them ginger or something, just to like, it's a protective thing. And I think when we become adults, people do it as well. Sadly, uneducated people will get into a feud with someone and call them out because of the colour of the skin, or because they're from a place of lesser demographic societal view or whatever. But does that make sense? Like, I think we're always going to have it for as long as people are different. We're always going to have it. Which isn't okay, but I just hope we can just make it less. I think it's unrealistic to say it will go completely, because I just don't think it will.
Yeah. I mean, I think in terms of like conflict when you're younger, I think it's like it's the easiest insult, isn't it, or the laziest insult, to call someone fat, ginger, black, white, whatever. Which obviously is.
But that's why you get tribes, isn't it? That's why you get tribes even today. That's the reason why. That's why you get tribes. That's why even today, like, we can talk, and I think we're all pretty much on the same standpoint. Probably a bit different in places, but that's why bloody Ku Klux Klan or white supremacy, they all seem to like meet one another and form their own little bubbles, and other people who are accepting of people and moving along with this progressive movement, like, they bubble together as well, which hopefully is starting to become the majority. Like, you're just always going to have those clusters and things, but you're only as good as the people that you surround yourself with. Like, I'm a massive believer in that. So if you surround yourself with people who do have like negative connotations of people or a person, for whatever reason, then even subconsciously you might adopt some of those like negative attitudes or views and things. So yeah, only as good as people you surround yourself.
We represent, like, I think we're an exceptional group of people, and I think I surround. Huh?
I mean,
which people?
Us. Like, I think we are exceptional in the sense that we are not average, and I try to surround myself with people who often defy what it means to be normal or average, either in like their goals or their attitude towards life or the way they treat people or just like the projects they're involved with, whatever it may be. But I think it's like another example I've had in my life, in the sense that when I went to college in Vermont, which is like in Burlington, which is liberal and hippie and like pro environment, pro weed, all this stuff. And I was in a program studying environmental policy, and you learn all these things about the environment, and you think, how are we not changing the way we live when these things are so obvious? And then you go out into the world and you realize most people don't know how like large scale agricultural farming works. Most people don't understand the basics of how global warming works. And I think it's kind of the same with this. We can talk about masculine and femininity on a scale and can say like, I have no problem assigning myself to general manly roles, but I also accept women doing it as well. A lot of people don't feel the same way. A lot of girls feel they need to have breast implants and lip injections and spend $1,000 a month on lash extensions and hair extensions and buy Prada bags and go to Spain in small bikinis and take photos of themselves and like have waist trainers. And a lot of men feel insecure if they're not muscular, and it drives them to take steroids or buy expensive fast cars or whatever it may be. So I think we're like a minority. Huh?
I just feel so grateful. Everything you just said about those girls, I like genuinely don't find any of that attractive, like at all.
But so many men do find that attractive.
But do you think that that's just from just society is just like enforced that upon them almost?
Yes, because I also think those men assign themselves the traditional masculine traits themselves. They want their women to be petite and like beautiful and focused on her beauty and raising a family and like taking care of the house. And I want my super fast car, and I want to be a CEO of a company, and I want to wear sexy suits, and I want to have a yacht. So like he's assigned to those very masculine roles, and he wants his woman to be very feminine.
I guess where's your like personal standpoint on that whole kind of scale then? And if you're sort of saying that obviously you want to live the way you live now, which is like
Kaity's a hippie lesbian.
A hippie lesbian, yeah. If you want to be a hippie lesbian. No, I guess so. What's your like? How do you see the people that do have the breast implants and want to be really tiny? Or
to a certain extent, I understand.
Yeah.
Like why a woman wants breast implants. I totally understand. I can like relate to how she feels. But in general, I think I feel kind of sad that and I'm sure if I asked some of those girls or guys, like, do you genuinely love the life that you live and the way you express yourself? They would say, absolutely. Like, I love my hair extensions. But in general, this is hard because my sister once told me, like, not everyone wants to live the life that you think they should live.
Yeah.
That doesn't make everybody happy. So in a sense, I'm projecting what I believe to be like a genuine, truthful, meaningful life on these people. But my perception is I feel bad that they can't live a more laid back, organic life that's freed of stuff and things that like they fill to make themselves feel better, But maybe they genuinely enjoy having 10 cars. I can't relate to that. I think people are happier having less things and like being outside more, but I can't project that on everybody, even though there would be science that backs that up, but still.
I agree. I think you're right. Like, I think a lot of people who everything you just spoke about, they will be happy, and they'll be happy about that. But I would bet money that a lot of those people aren't happy. And so yeah, I totally agree. It's like the same that I find with like working in physio and health and fitness and things. It's like I've said to loads of my friends, like if someone wants to be overweight and unhealthy, if someone can be overweight and unhealthy but be genuinely happy and feel good, like have total well-being, then that, well, except for physical well-being, then that's great. Like, honestly, and I'm jealous of that person. And you know, if they have a heart attack at the age of 40 or something, but they've lived how they want to live, and and yeah, then that's a beautiful thing. But it frustrates me that I think I'm pretty confident a lot of those people, they're not happy, and they make out that they're happy, and it's the same with what you're talking about, and that's what's frustrating, because you just you want to help people, but you don't necessarily know how. Like, even in my profession, like, I don't know how to. It's like there's an elephant in the room, and you can't quite pinprick it. So I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's just something that I deal with like daily, and it really frustrates me.
I totally agree. Maybe it's just because they've never experienced it, they can't understand. But I think like when it's scientifically proven that exposure to the outside, or like there's only a cap on the amount of money you can make before happiness stops increasing or contentment stops increasing. And they say like, I don't like being outside, and they sit inside all day, not moving their body. I cannot understand how they don't feel like something's missing. And I'm sure it's the same with that. Like, if someone says, I'm fat and I'm happy, yes, but do you know what it would feel like to have 50 less pounds on your body and go for a walk outside? So it's such a, yeah, but like, how do you make them like see, how do you open their eyes, you know?
Yeah, it's so hard. And it's not like I'm not, I don't step outside every day. I wake up and I'm like, I'm the happiest ever. Like, we've all got these things that we're working on. Like, I have upsets, and there's a lot of things that I'm not happy with in my life. But there's certain things that you can control. And when you take the opportunity to commit to those things, whilst you've got this bubble of shit that you're trying to handle over here, at least, you know, you're still doing all you can in this area to promote your well-being. And or you feel from your experiences and I feel from mine, and vice versa. So I know we've gone, oh, your internet connection is unstable.
And pause a little bit.
Yeah, so it's just everything that we're talking about. We just want people to be happy and be comfortable and be able to do what they want to do and be who they want to be. But it's just frustrating because there's some things at the moment in society with all this, everything that's going on, that we can control, but a lot of it we can't. We kind of just have to hold on and go with it. But all the things that we can control, but people choose not to, just really fucking is annoying.
I mean, what drives global economies, the way we've set the world up to work, is companies make people feel bad about themselves. So we buy things, but those things never really make us feel better. So we just keep buying more things. And in order to buy things, we have to have jobs. And that's how we've set it up. And I think for us, we recognize to a large extent, yeah, we like the things, but we don't need those things. And we can see the bullshit that we've been sold throughout our lives, and we choose personally, I will believe this and I will believe that. What makes me sad is I feel that so many people so blindly buy the bullshit without questioning it.
Yeah, and I think it's a fine line between kind of seeing other people make like arguably make mistakes which you might have made and might have changed in your life, and then like kind of like being really like preachy and getting involved in other people's lives. I think it's a fine line, isn't it, of like, you know, who are you to say that how someone else should live their life? But yeah, really, obviously, it comes from a good place, and that you maybe want to help that person. But I think it's fine line, because you know, no one wants to be that person that's trying to put you know, the whether it's like a religion or a whatever it might be, you know, no one wants to be that person that's like pushing. I mean, even just like the stuff I put out on the podcast Instagram, I'm just like, oh God, like, you know, like, am I trying to be pushy for people to like meditate and all this stuff? Just like, you know, just because it's something that, you know, that's just an example of like something that I've found, and I'm just like, well, everyone should fucking be doing this. And I think sometimes people feel that way about like, it might be like a religion or I think it's a fine line to try and help other people without being like judgmental or like pushy.
Well, when they're ready, they'll listen.
This is true. It's like an addict. They need to want to change.
And it's like that Rihanna song, "The truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off." You know?
So American.
We're all on this spinning ball in space. Nothing fucking makes sense.
All right, Joe.
But
I'm curious, like, if we just go back to masculine and femininity, have either of you guys ever worn a kilt?
No.
I wanted to. I just haven't had the opportunity. I've made the opportunity.
Well, if you get the opportunity, I think you should do it and then report back and say, like, this is how I felt wearing a skirt.
It's not a skirt, it's a kilt.
It's a skirt.
You earlier when I was talking about skirts, you said, well, what about a kilt? As if it was a different thing.
It's a skirt. It's just been like socially acceptable for a man to wear that very particular type of skirt. But it's a good stepping stone for you. Have you ever worn makeup on your face? Like put on some lipstick?
I've dressed up like a girl before.
Did you think it was fun?
Yeah, it was quite fun. I did it at summer camp. One of the village activities was the girls got to paint us. It was me and two masculine guys and me got to we all got painted and got our hair done and makeup and stuff.
Do you not class yourself as a masculine guy? Ooh.
Huh?
But do you not class yourself as a masculine guy?
I don't think I'm like the most masculine. I think I can be quite like flamboyant at times and
Jack.
I'm not like, I don't know. All right, if we're going back to masculine, I'm not like a I don't know. I'm just me, guys. Just me.
In what aspect do you feel feminine?
I like to exfoliate.
Do you?
And I moisturize regularly.
Wow, I was not expecting that answer of all the things, but yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Exfoliate in the shower. Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't really think about it, honestly. Like, what parts of me are feminine? Like, I just don't think about it. If I'm honest, I don't really think about being masculine either. Maybe it's like in case it's like been unconsciously soaked into my head from society and all the other shit we talked about. But I don't. I honestly just think I'm me, and I like to work out, and I like to exercise, and if that is associated with being manly, then I don't know.
Jamie, do you think you are feminine in any traditional way or lean more towards being feminine in any way?
I think in some aspects I do quite a lot. I mean, I definitely relate to Jack in terms of what he said about like, you know, like we go to the gym, we want to be strong, we want to be like masculine in that sense. Then like, fuck yeah, there's so many things that I'm like, I don't know. I mean, like even the fact that I love like, you know, really like deep conversation. I think like you can have, in general, I can have more of those conversations with women than men. So in that respect, maybe that's a more feminine trait.
Do either of you have any problem crying?
Yeah. Because I feel like I benefit more from when I can control that rather than cry. I can express that upset in different ways. Like I've cried before, I've cried over breakups, cried over a lot of things like, but I don't feel like it does that much for me. So I've like, in the past, I've like spoken to myself and been like, stop fucking crying, just go do something instead. Like,
do you think that that's your inherent masculinity taking over though?
No,
I mean,
I think that's just me being me. I don't think it has to be anything to do with masculinity or anything. Like if I want to cry, I don't feel uncomfortable crying. It's like when I left summer camp, where we met Kaity. Well, I didn't, but you know, when I left there and I had to say bye to loads of staff in front of everyone, I was crying my eyes out. I was bawling, I didn't feel uncomfortable doing it then, but there's been that time and breakups and things when I have done it, and I don't feel like at this part, those stages in my life, and including now, it just doesn't benefit me. Like some people say, oh, it's good for you to have a cry, it's good for you. And I'm just like, I don't know if it is right now. Maybe in a year or so, or 10 years or whatever, I might benefit from it. But I don't need that. That's not my way of outlet for feeling upset. So.
Mm-hmm.
What is your?
But partly me made me cry. So what's that? That's a different type of crying. Fuck, that got me.
That's weeping, isn't it?
I was crying. I was not weeping.
So how would you express it in a different way?
I hate to be lame, but I'd go exercise. I'd go for mainly run. Go for a run. Or I just think about it. I wouldn't like get rid of it. Usually running's really good because when I go, I've talked this before, and when I go for a run, I'm able to think and what do you call it?
Compartmentalize.
Yeah, like, and just break everything down and just think about something. And I'll think about my emotion, like why do I feel upset, and what I'm going to do about it. But I don't need to cry to figure that out. Like I've cried in the past and be like, this is just what I do. And
Yeah,
like, don't be a bitch.
That's fair.
Kaity, do you ever feel like that you are like scared to be too feminine in that respect, or?
No, I think growing up, the way my dad raised us was like never show weakness. So I always did my best to not cry growing up. But then, yeah, once I like finally got to leave home and start to grow as a person, I have absolutely no problem crying. I wouldn't say I cry all the time, but I cry very easily. And I personally feel a lot better after I cry, in the sense that it's because I'm the same way as Jack, and I'm sure you are. To relieve stress and anxiety, I need physical activity. And that's how I work through issues. Like taking a long walk in the mountains is normally how I like think through an issue that I'm having in my life. But crying also makes me feel really good. It relieves so much like emotional buildup. And I think it's important to cry. I don't think, like, from what Jack just said, I don't think he's saying crying isn't important. Like, he has stated crying plays a part in his life. He does it when he feels it's appropriate, but for him, he finds other things to be more productive. But I think crying can also be productive for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think we spoke about it a little bit on the podcast, and in terms of it's maybe like, because I guess would it, obviously, so Kaity, would you be open to doing that in front of people? Does it?
Oh, I cry in front of people all the time.
Just like in public.
I'm like that. Those tests, the Myers-Briggs, the INTJs, whatever. 10 years ago, I was intuitive, and even though I think I'm a very intuitive person, now I think I'm emotional. Like I'm very in touch with my emotions, always reflecting, always thinking, like feeling people around me, their emotions, working through emotions, all of that. So I think crying is inherently connected to that process. And yeah.
So give us some context. I mean, I joked that like you would cry in a restaurant, but like
sitting in a movie theater, I would cry. Sitting at a friend's house watching about animal cruelty, I would cry.
Yeah.
Seeing, and when I was home, a car in front of me hit a woodchuck on the road, and they just kept driving. And to me, it was clear it wasn't dead. I got out of the car, and I like carried it to the side and like wrapped it in a blanket. And I was trying to call people on the phone, like, where can I bring this woodchuck? Do you accept animals? And I was sobbing on the phone, being like, I didn't hit it. I promise. I just need someone to help me. Like, I can't control those emotions, you know? Then I called my mom. Once I saw a deer get hit by a car in front of me, and I pulled over and was crying so hysterically that my mom thought something happened to me. But it had nothing to do with me. I feel, my friend once said to me, I think you're the type of person that feels emotions extremely. Like, if you're angry, you're extremely angry. If you're upset, you're extremely upset. You're happy, you're extremely happy. And I definitely agreed with that. So crying for me is an emotional release.
What's a woodchuck?
So many different
A
ways.
woodchuck is like a small brown, like a land beaver.
Okay.
I would say.
Land beaver.
Yeah.
Good thing to hit in your car because they taste real good.
Do they?
I don't know. I'm just being a dick. I've never had them. If I saw a deer get hit, though, I'd be all over that. Get it in the boot. Renaissance. Sorry, Katie. Yeah.
Before I forget, can I say one more thing? It's like totally off topic, but I don't want to forget it. The thing, because it also relates to like the Black Lives Matter and privilege. I think it's very easy for us to sit here, and I've come to a point that we're comfortable, like I'm comfortable acting like a boy, because I think we're all blessed being attractive people. Like, I look very feminine, I look like a woman. So even if I'm acting like a man, people will judge me. They won't judge me in a negative way. Like, I cannot wear makeup and be beautiful, right? So for me, it's easy to not feel like I have to wear makeup, I have to have my hair a certain way, because I naturally kind of like fit a feminine mold. But then I think the girls who don't feel naturally like they fit into society's I don't know, like stereotype of being a woman, they feel so insecure that that drives them to wear makeup and wear certain clothes and do whatever. Do you know what I mean? So there's like a privilege that comes with being attractive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's a privilege that comes with being attractive, but I think there's also, oh God, I think you can also do a lot to make yourself more attractive. That there's some things that aren't in your hands, but there are. What?
Is that like personally, like I could do things to make myself more attractive?
Yeah. Well, what are we talking about when we say attractiveness? Like, are we talking about like what are we talking about? Aesthetically?
Yes, yes.
Right. Okay. Because aesthetically, some things within our aesthetics we can't change greatly, but there's a lot of things that we can change. So in terms of like how you look, you can do a lot that is in your control to make yourself look more attractive. Like, it doesn't mean we can't wake up and be Victoria's Secret models or whatever. But you can, do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot you can do to make yourself more attractive.
Yes,
And there's a lot you
that.
can do from aesthetically, but also from like, not aesthetically, just from being attracted to the person. Like, the people that I've been most attracted to are not what people would say on paper the most beautiful like women, but what I'm attracted to most is the person and what they do. So being productive, doing lots and being proud of what you do, like that's really attractive as well. And people have the choice to do that as well. You can either sit inside and not do anything, or you can get outside and you can learn a new skill. And it doesn't have to always have to be like physical. You don't have to go to the gym. It could just be like someone who's really good at sewing. Like, when I met a girl who was like, I was a little attracted to, but she was also really good at like sewing or like something weird that I'm not weird, but something that I'm not into. Like, or she was like, I had a massive passion for collecting like marbles or something, but she was really passionate about it. I'd just be like, that's fucking cool. She's into something that other people aren't into. Like, she's found something, she's found a niche. That's a state of attractiveness as well as aesthetics. There's a lot of it you can control. But that's obviously, maybe I've just had like better opportunities to get to control them.
I mean, I definitely agree what you're saying. And I think the older we get, like I said, the less we care about. We're not attracted. When you first see someone, it's important that you have to find them to be somewhat attractive. But in general, you love someone for who they are as a person. But I just mean in the terms of self-expression. I think it's easy for us to express ourselves organically because we will never. If you take off your shirt at a beach, someone's not going to be like, that guy's gay or that guy's so feminine. Like, no matter who you are, someone would say like, oh, tall, strong, buff man. He's manly, right? But like a smaller guy who's short and like petite, maybe has like a cycling frame, when he takes off his shirt, someone could judge him, even if he's comfortable, just as comfortable as you expressing himself.
Yeah.
People will say like, oh, he could be gay. And it's the same with me, right? Like if I'm acting very boyish and someone says to me, or could think like, I don't think someone would think she's a lesbian, even though I'm expressing myself organically, because I naturally fit into this like feminine looking mold, right? So I just think there's a privilege that comes with looking a certain way.
Yeah. No,
I was just thinking actually. I've never thought about it.
The weird thing is like your face is on the screen, so like I just feel like you're judging me when I'm speaking, just because you're like big and not saying anything.
Right. Like even when like we're talking now, this is all new. This is all new topic, or it's not a new topic, but something I've never actually like sat and like isolated into like a topical conversation. So
are you, just to try and understand what you mean, like by saying that are you saying that you're at an advantage because if someone was to look at you like objectively, they could see you in a think that you are feminine?
Yeah, exactly. I fit the mold, normal.
Okay, and so that puts you at an advantage to actually be way more masculine.
Whatever I want to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense in the fact that you can be, if you can be accepted into society, then you can be whoever you want to be. And I guess it's more what society accepts as acceptable or not.
It's just like someone won't think twice when they look at me, but that's not everybody. Like there are girls who feel extremely ugly, right? Or extremely manly in their natural state. And they don't want people to view them in that way, which drives them to then pursue all these traditionally feminine things. I have to get eyelash extensions. I need to get boob implants. I need to do waist training. I need to get a bigger butt because society doesn't think I'm good enough as I am. But I think we all feel society thinks we're good just the way we are. Like people think we're attractive, we get attention, blah, 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 which allows us to just organically explore whoever we want to be.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because like if society tells us we are not something, then we will want to be the opposite of that. Mm-hmm. Much like you said that your dad, when you were younger, like wanted to portray you as a certain in a certain way, and so you wanted to be the opposite of that. And sometimes that can work in your favor, right? Because if someone tells you can't do something, or someone tells you you're not something, if you really want to be that, then that'll just gives you like fuel to the fire. Because say if someone like I always, like, even just in my career, I remember managers telling my managers telling me that like you react to telling, like, we know that you work in the way that if I tell you you can't do something, then that'll just piss me off, and then I'll want to do it more, which was really frustrating, obviously, once they realised that. But like, do you know what I mean? There's certain people that tick in that way. Well, I think everyone ticks in that way to a certain extent.
Maybe a better way to put it is that some people feel like they are not good enough for the standards that society wants them to be. So their drive is to just fit in. They just want to be that. But for other people who already fit in, we want to be something else. We want to be something different.
So are you saying that like... Sorry, go on, Jack.
No, I was just saying definitely, like, it makes, just talking about it makes me realise like how I wouldn't say lucky, but like, yeah, I do feel like there's some of these respects that I do feel privileged and stuff. But like I say, like, it's not that there's a lot of things that everyone has the opportunity to control, and it's about it's about getting hold of those things and making the best of it you can. But I would say to someone who was listening, if they're in that category of people, or they feel like they're in that category of people who don't fit in, or they don't feel like they have the privileges that we're, I guess, all agreeing on, just get out and explore, because there's plenty of people that feel like that. I think working at summer camp is very different, but made me realise, like, you have so many staff that come together from all over the world, and we had staff from like Australia, New Zealand, all parts of Asia, Africa, all over, and different staff coming from different places. You'd have that guy who was into sports who would come, but you'd also have that girl who was artsy, and you'd have all the different people that come together, like all those pools of people. So the more people get out and explore and just try and find people that are the same as them, the easier they'll then find it to start to express themselves and feel more comfortable and feel like they don't have to be a girl who has to wear this, and this, or a guy who has to wear this, and this. Like, but if you're growing up and you're always in the same group of friends, you go through school and you're all just kids, but then all of a sudden you start to become like young adults and stuff, and you'll want to be someone different to maybe the people that you've always surrounded yourself with. There's so many more people out there, and there'll be that group of people that are waiting for you to join them and explore and express how you want to do it, like, because they share the same sort of views. Does that make sense? So
yeah,
I think meeting people from around the world it's just inspirational, in the sense that you realize, or at least maybe for us, what you should be chasing is not some arbitrary beauty standard. It should be like developing yourself as a person and contributing something to your community or the world.
Yeah, just feeling good, being happy, like doing what you want to do. And happiness isn't waking up every day, like saying, being like, everything in my life's perfect, but it's just knowing that you're spending your time how you want to spend it to the best you can, whilst there's pressures and things you can't control. And yeah, and totally, I think if you're not making someone else's life, that's the world's quote, if you're not making someone else's life better, then you're wasting your own time. Like, so you've got to like get a nice balance of doing what you want to do, but also help others. So, but yeah, that's why people being static frustrates me, because if you stand still, you're just going to look at the same view, and like, it's just like, fucking do one.
well,
I think I was going to say, Jamie, I'm sure knows this, because I think you read the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, right?
Yeah, you got me.
You recommend it.
Really good. Because it's short. I don't like long books.
Well, that's one of the best books of the genre I've read. And huh?
No, go on.
I was just gonna say, like, a lot of people say, I just want to be happy, or it seems that they chase happiness, but happiness is a temporary emotion, like anger or sadness, and like you should aim for contentment. And I think
fulfillment.
Personally, once I understood that difference, that was life-changing for me.
Yeah.
It's just about curating a life that you're proud to live. It's not being happy every moment, because that's not realistic or what life is. But
yeah, and it's very easy to get caught up in a rat race of like you said before, of like wanting 10 cars or whatever, and obviously there's never enough, whatever it is that you want. Mm-hmm. There's never enough stuff in the world. I think we kind of did a podcast previously on this about just the benefits of traveling and things, but I think again it comes back to just that, like, changing your environment and not just staying in one place, geographically. I think makes such or even if it's just like moving out of your family home to go to university or whatever it is, like, I think it really, like, people need that, like, space to grow, to gain that, like, self-awareness.
Yeah, for sure. It's that, I mean, I've said it, I think, on every podcast I've been here, but it's that do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always been given. Like, I think is so true. And if it doesn't challenge you, or it doesn't change you, like, you've got to try new things and expose yourself to different conversations, and try and be unpredictable to yourself. Like try and not like go do something that you wouldn't usually go and do, and just get out there, guys.
Growth occurs outside your comfort zone.
Boom.
Boom.
Sick. Yeah, he's gone.
Oh. He's a good boy.
Right.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Much appreciate the chat.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And it was lovely to meet you, Katie.
Yes, you as well.
Nice to meet you, Katie.
Lovely to meet you too, Jack.
Right. Talk to you both soon.
Yeah. Have a great day, everyone.
You too. Bye.